Civil engineering and architecture students, this is Mr. Voigt. So I am making a video. I forgot I wasn't going to be here today. So you get a video and you can do the things we were going to do together. We will test your structural towers tomorrow in class on Friday. Okay? I want to go over the difference between hollow core. We talked about this in class, but I haven't shown you pictures. I'm going to show you a video. I'm going to have you watch a video and then, or you will already have watched a video, and then you're going to look at this. So these are just some pictures of hollow core floors, and they can be very long. They can come in a lot of different shapes, but basically they put them in place. These can be different lengths, and there's a beam under here, and they slide together, and they have a little space, and then they fill this space with concrete if they're going to put a finished floor on top of this, or they might put some sort of sheeted good over it. But we got to look at there's some differences. We got to choose whether we're going to put this kind of floor in our second floor of our library that we're redoing, or the other type of floor. Okay. So yeah, I need to get my thing out here. So I'm going to go ahead and change. So that's a hollow core, what they call pre-stressed. And if you look here, you see these little dots. Those are cables. So what they do is they have a form, and they pull these cables taut, and they keep them tight and taut while they pour this concrete in there, and then they let that concrete cure. Okay, and I think there's air pockets, bags that fill with air that are these, and then they deflate those and pull them out. Anyway, they pour these long things, and these cables that are then cut, though, because those cables are in tension or they're taut, when they cut them, they go back, they shrink back down a little bit, and what they do is they end up compressing this to make it stronger. So those strands, they call those strands, are in there to make it a little bit stronger. Anyway, that's a hollow core, and they get pulled and lifted into place. All right. So cast in place concrete floor on metal. So it's going to be more like this over here. If we look at this, so we have a steel decking under it that is tied down to a beam on both these, and then they put some rebar in it, and they pour concrete on it. So they have other diagrams here. This diagram here that might be poured as well. These can be poured, or these could be the precast. This says poured concrete for over corrugated metal, but this is what I want you to look at. Corrugated metal will then hold up a certain thickness of floor. Now, how close together your beams are and how thick this metal is will determine how thick you can pour that floor. And the thicker you pour it, the stronger it is. So these tend to need more support under them than do the ones we were looking at before. So having said all that, now we've talked about that in class already. Having said all that, we got to now apply this to our library. So I'm going to switch over to my camera here. There we go. There's our camera. And what we're going to look at, I have two different, see, this is our library. So if you look down here, it says composite slab. That's what we were just looking at, the metal decking with the concrete over the top. So this is the second floor. The roof, you don't see the roof. This is the metal, this is the steel framing for our second floor. Okay? Now, on here, they're just showing it, underneath our roof. This is underneath our roof here. But if we use the same thing out here on our green roof, that's going to be the same, right? So you see how every 10 feet we are going to have a beam right here. Okay, and they tie into, this would be called a girder because this beam attaches to the girder, and this beam attaches to the girder, and this beam, and this girder then will carry the weight of all four of these beams over to these columns. You're going to have a girder here too. So that girder will carry these beams. Okay, this post will carry, this beam will be carried by the post because it'll attach right to the post. So anyway, so you can see that every 10 feet we have one. and then every 24 feet going this way. Well, so that's for the composite slab. For the precast, this is what they're giving us. So they don't have any of those in between. You just have your beam here, and 30 feet over you have another beam, and 30 feet over you have another beam. So what that means is our floors need to be different sizes, right? A floor here, so this would be the hollow core. If you see down here, is hollow core precast panels. So you're going to either have to have a panel go 24 feet from here to here, and then put another one that goes 24 feet, and another one, and then over here it'd go 24 feet between here and here, and so forth. Or you'd have to have one that goes 30 feet this way. Now, if I show you so first off, you got to decide which direction you're going, which one works better. And then you got to decide how many of them you need, and first off, whether you can hold the amount of weight. They have our design weight for both of these at 150 pounds per square foot, PSF. So they have to hold 150 pounds per square foot for these floors. All right, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and do this one first. There is now a sheet that goes with this. This sheet right here, it's just a table. So this is our corrugated metal, and the thicker this metal is, this is the gauge of metal. Now the lower the number, the thicker the metal. So 16 gauge metal is going to be thicker than 22 gauge metal, and with thicker metal, we can pour thicker concrete on top of it, and thus we can span larger spans. Okay? So we have to decide what we want to do. So down here you see, they say allowable unshored clear span. So what we got to look at is total span and clear span. So if we come back over here, they have this going this way. So our total, this is our clear span, a 10-foot clear span, a 10-foot clear span, and a 10-foot clear span for a total of 30-foot span. Then on here we'd go another 10-foot clear span, 10-foot clear span, 10-foot clear span for a total of a 30-foot span. So they have our panels going this way, right? Our metal will get laid out like this, and then they'll pour the concrete on top. So we might as well think that things are going that way, because it doesn't do you any good to put your metal here. There's nothing under it, right? Because I drew those lines on there. So that's the direction they want them to go. So if we have them going that way, we look at this chart right here. So if we have we have to get a 10-foot 3-span. So the first one we see is right here. So we would have to have a 4-inch concrete slab on top of our metal, right? So each clear span is this. So over here, if we do it on that one, we hold 157 pounds per square foot right here at this one. So what that means is we would have to use 18 gauge metal, which is pretty heavy metal. It can have up to a 10-foot 6-inch span, which is 6 inches longer than we need, and it will hold, if we pour it at 4 inches, it'll have 157 pounds per square inch of strength. So that is the most economical one we want. So that's what we're going to underline. I want you to either circle this on the back of this piece of paper, highlight it, whatever. But that is the most economical setup that we can do. Okay? Now you got to keep coming down here. You could do a 4.5-inch deck that would cover 10 feet 1 inches, and again, you're still at 18, right? Up here, if you used 18, you could go 11 at 3.5 inches of concrete. You could go 11 feet. You can't do anything less than 18 gauge on any of these, can you? And get to 10 feet. In fact, you have to go to 16 gauge if you go to 5 inches of concrete, 16 gauge with 5.5 inches of concrete, and 16 gauge with 6 inches of concrete. So we don't need 6 inches of concrete, I don't believe, because we only need 157 pounds per square inch. So if we come down here and we still use our 18 gauge, this is going to be at our 10 feet. See how it goes up to 198 because we have thicker concrete. But we don't need 198 pounds per square foot. We just need 157. or 150. And as you go down here, here's our 10 foot here. At 10 foot, oh, you can't have a clear span, so we can't do this one. But up here we could, 349 pounds per square foot at 5.5 inches of concrete. So anyway, this is our deal right here. So we're either going to use 18 gauge metal at 10 foot spans, right? Because we have right here 10 foot spans. We can go up to 10 foot 6 inches for our span, but we only need 10 foot, and then that will hold 157 pounds per square foot, and our design is 150. So we're good. Okay. So this is it. I just want you to circle that. We got to decide whether we're going to use this, or when we look at this, we're going to have a 30-foot span here, clear span. Okay? So you'd put one here, here, and here. So if we come down here, this is a little different. These are 4 feet wide, right? What we need to do is come over to our 30-foot span. We're going to have to use the only one that gets to 30 feet and has 150. So this is how many pounds per square feet they're going to hold at 30 feet. There's only one that holds over 150 pounds per square foot at 30 feet. So we have to use this one right here. Okay? That's the one we got to use. It will have the same number of hollow cores here, and it'll have 7 strands, which are the wire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's what this is. There's 7 of them. Okay, and they're 6/10 of an inch. I don't know what 6/10. I think that's 6/10 of an inch, which means the area in square inches of that cable is 1.519 square inches. And then these are just strength measurements that we don't need to get into. Okay, so this is what we're going to do here. How many of these would it take? Well, they're 4 feet wide. So 24 divided by 4 is 8, right? So there would be 8 of them here, 8 of them here, 8 of them here, between here and here, 8, 8, and 8. So that's 16 times 3, right? That's 48 of them. So you'd need 48 of those panels. So we need to decide, are we going to do this or are we going to do this? I don't know if it makes any difference. We are not going to do the cost analysis. So, I mean, if you did the cost analysis, you also have to figure in how much more labor this might be, because you also have to add in the steel that goes in here. So I don't know. We're just going to choose one. And for now, I think we're going to choose this one. I just want you to look at that. So I want you to go ahead and highlighted these on the back and, highlighted this on the front, and understand we're going to choose hollow core. All right? Unless we change our mind. But for now, let's make it hollow core. All right.